Isabel, the little Staffy engine. In the quarry, men dug out hard granite rock for cobbled streets, and the smaller stones were washed and pulverised in jaw crushers for dusty roads. Horses and traction engines pulled the wagons of stone. And every day, children would bring lunch to the quarry for their fathers. "I think a steam engine would do this work nicely," said Mr. Preston, the quarry manager, "but I haven't got much money." "Aha," said Mr. Bagnall, who made engines. "I could make one for you with no cab, a short chimney, and a cheap round firebox." "Indeed," said Mr. Preston. "And you don't have to pay me all at once," said Mr. B. "Excellent," said Mr. Preston. "I'll take two." The engines arrived, and Isabel, Mr. Preston's daughter, loved them. So much so that he said, "We must name one after the quarry and one after you." A rail track was set down, and Isabel chuffed off to work with Cliff. For a whole year, Isabel, the engine, hauled granite round the lumpy, bumpy quarry, up the steep slopes and all around the tram line. "My frames are bending," she cried. So Mr. Preston ordered another engine for the tram line. "Hi," said Rocket, the new engine. "I have metal stays in my square firebox and more metal in my frames. I won't bend and bulge." Is Isabel like a whistle?" he chuckled. "Mr. Preston," called Isabel. "I'll straighten your frames and give you a square firebox," said Mr. Preston kindly to Isabel. "And Mr. McAdam needs a lot of stone for his new roads that are covered with tar. We must get you even more help." 2 steam lorries arrived with steel wheels. Clunkety clunk, they rattled over the rocky ground. Then one arrived with solid rubber tyres, but it rattled along as well. "Too much dust," coughed Isabel. It was time for some more railway engines. "Hello, I'm here to help," chuffed Jack. "Me too," said Edith. "Is a bell very loud?" she giggled. And then the work carried on. One day everyone was busy and no one noticed 3 little boys with some copper coins. "Faster!" shouted Joe the driver. "There's lots to do." "Watch out!" cried Joe as they went around a bend. "Ooh-ah!" cried Isabel as she toppled over. "We are very sorry," said the boys as they were told off. "That was a very dangerous thing to do," said Joe. "But it's a very bendy track." Soon even more granite was needed for the new tar macadam roads. Isabel was fixed, a bigger hole was started and more engines arrived. Derek, the crane, hauled up pans filled with stone, and he lowered Isabel and Edith down into the sinking hole. Each day he shouted, "Lunchtime!" or "Blasting time!" and hauled them out again. Now, far away from the quarry, a battle began. The quarrying carried on. But soon the lorries were falling apart. So bigger steam engines with bigger track and 10-ton steel wagons arrived. "We're here to do your job," they said, and the little engines were hoisted out to haul granite at the top. "You are getting worn out," said Mr. Preston Jr. "Time to change your firebox. A circular one will do very nicely." But one sad day, another battle began. "Dim the lights, put out the fire," shouted the men. So lots of the men left, and others arrived. "How do?" said Isabel and Edith. Gotten tag," said Claus, Isabel's new driver. "Bon Janor," said Antonio to Edith as he started the fire. The work went on. When some men finally returned, there was lots to do. So many new builds were needed that 5 humongous 12-ton lorries with tyres filled with air trundled down a new road into the sinking hole. Derek, the engines, and the incline had to go. "No more work," said Isabel sadly, and all the steam engines sat unwanted on the spoil bank. The years slipped by as they slumbered, until one day there was a strange commotion. Isabel was woken up by people from the Bagnall factory. "We are saving you for a new job," they said. "Just me?" asked Isabel. "You are the oldest. Best one left," they said. "Oh, goodbye," she called to her friends, and she was loaded on to the trailer. Now Isabel was polished, painted, and placed on a plinth at Bagnall HQ, and people came to see her. "You know, there are 3,000 engines just like me," she said proudly, "all over the world." But Bagnall stopped building engines, and yet again her job disappeared, and soon Isabel was the last bit of railway left. "We'll have you, dear," said the people from the town park. "You are the oldest, best engine in Staffordshire." "Hello, welcome. I'm a Bagnall steam engine," she said to everyone, all through cold winters and long and hot summers too. But as she sat there, she started to feel a bit wobbly and rusty and itchy and nesh. "Help!" she cried. "My chimney is sinking." "This is no good. We have to save Isabel," said everyone that loved the little Staffy engine. "We'll build you a railway especially for you." So, once again, Isabel was cleaned up and fixed and painted. Isabel went to her very own railway to pull carriages of people. "Thank you," she said. "This time I'm home for good."